Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of new figures from Stan Solo, and these are movie accurate versions of Boba Fett, because the one thing you can say about the Kenner version of Boba Fett is he doesn't actually look like Boba Fett looks like in the movie. So here in front of me we have two new versions. We've got a version in the middle which is how he looks in Empire Strikes Back, and a version on the right which is how he looks in Return of the Jedi. So let's take a closer look at these figures. So here we have the two figures. As I say, these are new figures from Stan Solo. They are made to look like vintage figures, so they have that Kenner style about them, but these are screen accurate. On the left we have Boba Fett as you see him in The Empire Strikes Back, and on the right we have Boba Fett as you see him in Return of the Jedi. Now, to a lot of people, they wouldn't think there's any difference between those two versions of Boba Fett, but there are lots of differences, lots of different paint applications. The cape is different. In general, there are so many little changes. So what Stan Solo has done has taken very sort of careful note of how each of these characters should look and painted them accordingly. So we've got different paint applications, we've even got different plastic used on the bodies. If we first take a look at the Boba Fett from The Empire Strikes Back, you can see immediately how much more detail there is in this figure. If I bring in my original version of Boba Fett, you can see how basic he looks. The paint application is fairly basic. It does look like Boba Fett, but it's a fairly sort of basic version of it. This one has my own little custom cape that I put on a while back. Check out that video if you want to see how I made that. But the Stan Solo one, you can see we have a much better sort of paint application. There's much more detail going on. There's a few sculpture changes as well. You can see here we have the braids put over the shoulder, and then there's more detail on the helmet. So we've actually got the little sort of sensor on the front of the helmet. And if we turn him around, you can see that the jetpack on the back is now a separate piece, and it actually does look like the jetpack that you see in the movies. If I bring in the original Boba Fett, we've got this very simplified version of the jetpack with a sort of a red missile on it. So this new version here, you can see, is as screen accurate as I think you can get at this scale. He's even added the cape, which was something I showed you on my version there, and the cape has a sort of different tone down the middle of it. It's got a little bit of print on there because the Empire Strikes Back version of the cape has this nice stripe on it. It really is a lovely looking figure. There's so many little details, I can't sort of point them all out. We've got little emblems on the shoulder there, so that's a little bantha skull that you can see just on his shoulder, if I can get that to focus. He's got a little emblem on his front there. The gun that he comes with is now the proper gun that you see Boba Fett with, rather than the sort of standard Stormtrooper blaster that the Kenner figure came with. The attention to detail on this figure is lovely. There's just so much going on with it. Let me now show you the Return of the Jedi version. I'll try and point out as many of the differences as I can, but it's a lot of sort of subtle differences, paint colours and that, and things like the cape are different. But let me show you the Jedi one, and you can see if you can spot them. So here is the Return of the Jedi version of Boba Fett, and you can straight away see that there are lots of subtle differences. Things like the gauntlets are now red. If we turn him around, you can see that the jetpack has been painted in all sorts of different colours. The one on the Empire version is just plain green. We've also got a different cape here. The cape is now in a sort of darker sort of camouflage green colour. It's just lots of subtle differences. These sort of hardcore Star Wars fans can easily spot these. If I hold them side by side, you can slowly see the differences. The general body colour is slightly different. It's a much more sort of muted grey. This one has a sort of lighter grey base plastic. As I say, the gauntlets are a different colour. The armour is a much sort of darker grey colour. We've got different markings on the gauntlets as well. You can see different paint applications on that. And as I showed you, if we turn it around, the jetpacks are different. There are also different markings on the helmet of this figure. You can see the little lines are yellow on this one, and on this they're more of a sort of orangey colour. It's just lots of subtle differences all over the place. So if you want proper sort of screen accurate versions of Boba Fett, then I would suggest you grab these, because I don't think you're going to get something as close to this, certainly not in this sort of Kenner style that Stan Solo manages to produce. These are really lovely indeed. Both figures, as I showed you, come with a blaster that's much more in keeping with the movie version of the blaster. They have 5 points of articulation. You can see I can rotate the head here, you can rotate the arms up and down, you can rotate the legs. These are a little bit stiff, and it looks like they're a little bit awkward to sort of move too far forwards. I think you can do it, but on this one certainly it's a little bit tight to rotate that forward. So actually it does rotate, it's just a little bit stiff in the joint. Let me try that on the other Boba Fett I have here. So take his weapon out, you can see the arms rotate, Let me rotate the legs. Yeah, that one does rotate much more easily. I think it's just a little bit stiff because this is a new figure. The backpack is also removable. We can easily take that off. You can see there's a little hexagon hole in the back, and that just pegs in there. I'll do the same on the other one just so you can see it on both, so that unclips. So if you want the version of Boba Fett without the backpack on, you can have that, but in the movies he is always wearing that backpack. But there you go, these are two really lovely looking figures, and they make the original version of Boba Fett look quite plain in comparison. It's I always liked this original Boba Fett figure. It's probably what, you know, I think a lot of people's favourite figure, but it's a very basic version of the figure, very sort of simplified. Adding all of these details, including the little emblems there and these proper sort of sensor scope and the proper backpack, it makes such a big difference. This feels like a vintage figure, but it's got the detail of a modern figure. Stan Solo also created a unique version of this Boba Fett figure for the Iconicon event of 2022. So this has been chrome plated and then coloured so that it's in sort of quite vibrant rainbow colours. It's a really unique looking figure, and I think one that a lot of people would like to have on display. You can get this version of the figure loose, and there was also, I think, a limited edition version carded here with this lovely sort of iridescent border going on it, which sparkles under my lights. And on the back of it, it shows you more details about the Iconicon event. I think these ones were limited edition, so these may be harder to get. But certainly if you want unique versions of figures to add to your collection, then this chromed plated version of Boba Fett is quite unique. So if you want to get these figures for your collection, then head on over to Stan Solo's website. I will put a link to that in the description. There's a few places where you can grab them. They are well worth getting because, as you can see, they make such a difference, and it's such an upgrade on the original Boba Fett figure. He looks great, but these ones look so much better. Do check out some of my reviews of his other figures as well. I've done quite a few of them over the years, and he has produced an awful lot of figures, customs and reproductions of all sorts of Star Wars things, so do check all of those out. If you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.